European race right here on Zwift Community Live. My name is Jesper Enker, and as always, I will be your host for tonight's race. I can hear myself on the phone. Let me just turn down because I have the chat open. That gives me a good segue. If you are watching in the chat right now, let it be known. Put it in a little hi emoji, say hey or whatever. I'll give you a shout out as the race gets underway. But ladies and gentlemen, KISS European race. I've had a look at the start list for tonight's race. I can tell you one team has come out in really strong fashion. BRT, Bolt Racing Team. I think I saw at least 8 riders in the A category on the start line tonight. It'll be interesting to see what they can do to upset it. If you do hear something in my background, it's because Tim Fulford of Cycling Hub is actually doing the kit unlock ride as well, which is happening right now on Zwift as well. So I do apologize, but I'll do my best to talk over him putting out what's on his Wahoo kicker in the chat. I see I am joined by Mr. Søren Bay. We're joined by KISS Zwift Races, Bjorn Ossenbrink, Jeffrey Keel, Richard Morehouse, Johan Valentins, Mason Butler, and many, many more. Thank you very much for tuning in. And over the next 6 laps of the Classique course, which is roughly going to take us just underneath an hour, I believe, we're going to have fun. We're going to have entertainment on a Thursday evening. So make sure you've got yourself a coffee. Make sure you got yourself some biscuits or whatever other, I don't know, everywhere else in the world, what do you have? Because, I always have a coffee. I always sit down. I have my Cycling Hub mug. I filled up with my Nespresso coffee. I sit down, or in this case, I'm standing up, and then I get ready to broadcast the race. But let me know in the chat. See Nathan Guerra's there. We see Jasper Airtoft Peel. Grisholm McDonald's in here as well, but it looks like the race is underway. So we do have 6 laps tonight of the Classique course. Personally, it's my favorite course. I have so many great memories on this course. Classique is great. It's the correct mix of punchiness and flatness as well, because I'm not built for big hills or big mountains, so therefore the Classique course works. Let's have a look at who's actually made the start line tonight, because I already see some of the heavy hitters. First up, we've got none other than Johannes Hermann of Vision, the German national champion of Zwift. No secret that he's quite strong on a bike. I believe he's done what did he do? A sub 4 minute? Oh, what did he do a sub 4 minute of? Was it the reverse KOM, or was it like Fox Hill or Box Hill, where he did like a 3 something? It can't be Box Hill. I don't believe he did Box Hill in sub 4. But Johannes Hermann has done one of the climbs on Zwift in an unreal time. Races for Vision and is definitely one of the riders to look out for. I believe tonight's race is not hilly enough for him to be the out and out favorite, but you can never discount him. Looking at the out and out favorite, we've got possibly, if he's still ranked number 1 on Zwift Power, we have Mr. Steve Young. We got Stevie Boy, Mr. Pythons from Innovation Cycling. If you've not seen this guy before on Zwift, this man can sprint. This man of Innovation Cycling knows how to rev off his trainer and just give it everything when he comes into a sprint. We usually see him head-to-head versus the likes of Greg Leo, Kim Little, but it looks like neither of them have showed up tonight for the KISS race. We've also got Mr. Ollie Jones. Name might be familiar. You may have seen the pop-up around before. He is, of course, the Zwift Academy champion of 2017, where he won a contract for Dimension Data's youth team. And I'm not quite sure where he's racing next year, but him and his good friend Alex West have actually gone together to create a YouTube channel called Zwift Racers Central, where I believe they're broadcasting races on Zwift. Yeah, I know it's as simple as that. I've not yet looked into it, but I've seen them promoting it on the different Facebook pages, so I do recommend that you go check them out on YouTube. That is the Zwift Racers Central if you want to see high-end A racers race on Zwift. We got Mr. Killam as well from Washed Up Racing out of Canada. He usually makes a regular appearance here in our Thursday night KISS races. He's quite strong. He's been up there near the mix. But just like Mason Butler, who's also racing tonight, they've lacked that final kick to the line to really go out and upset the establishment, upset the strong riders. But we'll see if tonight could be the night for them. Looking further down through the start list, I saw a few other names I recognized, but they're probably sitting further at the back. We've got Alex West, who was a 2018 Swift Academy runner-up in the finals, but it was him and Ollie Jones that have gone together to create Zwift Racers Central. And they've been racing a lot recently on Zwift. And despite it being it's kind of funny because down under or in the southern hemisphere, it's warm, like they're going into summer, and yet Ollie and Alex are spending all this time racing on Swift because it is the Swift season because it's dictated by the northern hemisphere with all the kiss racing and the morning grind fondos, etc. But it is fun to see them. I did see in amongst the action the MiG of BRT who was racing, but looks like he's been dropped off the back and won't be coming anywhere back into the race. Mason Butler, one of the youngest riders in this start list or on this peloton. He weighs absolutely nothing. This man flies uphill, and we've seen him go head-to-head before with Tim Cartwright and others on Zwift, but we'll see what he can do today. I also see the Danish national champion there, Søren Bay, and this is something because I heard this lurking. I heard when it was happening, I heard the rumbling behind the scenes because you may have noticed that Søren Bay have changed teams. This doesn't happen often in Swift racing. There's no blockbuster transfers like Paul Pogba from United to Juventus and then back to United that makes massive headlines, or like Alexis Sanchez going from, I don't even know where he went from, but he was also big news. Søren Bay have gone from one of the biggest, longest-standing teams on Zwift, Team Experimental, to the new and upcoming interesting Danish team that is the Fusion eSports cycling team, powered by SIS and Wahoo. So the Danish national champion has actually moved over and across to the Danish eSports team. And it does make me happy. As much as I like Kim Little, as I like Casey Shum and the rest, it fits in with the narrative to have the Danish national champion on the Danish eSports team. So I support that decision. We got Kravonas in here as well, who is no stranger to Swift racing. Bergen is on the front as well as he's going forward. We've got this little kicker coming up now. So if you're not familiar with the Classic course, it's primarily flat the entire way through, but there is one. Bergen is using an aero power up this early on. So Bergen is it's a steady state climber, as I know, because this is just me based on the racing style I've seen him on Zwift. He could be totally different in real life, but whenever I see Bergen in a Zwift race, he usually attacks on hills, on longer efforts, and you can see it now as well. He doesn't really support his sprint. He doesn't believe the fact that he can beat Steve Young and company in a sprint, so Bergen has gone off the front, popped an aero power-up, which is 5 minutes into the race. That is controversial, because on the Classic course, I would venture to say that at any point in the course, should you pop your power-up. There should not be a single moment you should be in trouble where you'd have to pop your power-up. So you have to keep your aero to the very end, unless you do not believe in your sprint and you want to try and drop the sprinters and create a breakaway, then you should do it. And it looks like that's what Bergen has done. We've actually got a really interesting breakaway happening right now in front of our eyes. We got Killam, Ollie Jones, Mason Butler, Woodhuck, and Bergen, and they have a 2-second gap. And we've actually got Pantalera, who is a Siva Set approved rider, formerly Sada, using an aero power up to bridge across, and this has absolutely strung out the peloton. So this effort from Bergen has strung out the peloton from back to front, but it looks like it will be nullified. But this is why you use your power up if you do not believe in your sprint, because every single sprinter in there right now, every single one who I don't know really what to call them without sounding derogatory, because what they do is they sit in. If you're a sprinter and if you're new to, or if you're a spectator, if you're a viewer of the stream right now on Mixer, on Facebook, and you're new to racing on Zwift or cycling in general, if you are a sprinter, you excel in a very, very big kick at the very, very end of the race. Ergo, you try to keep your matches until the end, and you try to keep that match buck closed until you have to light every single one of them in one go. What Bergen did is he attacked off the front, and he made some of those sprinters, the Steve Youngs in here, the Søren Bays, burn just maybe half a match or a quarter of the match. And as every attack adds up, you can see the image start to happen. The match buck gets emptier and emptier towards the end. Greg Leo says, hoard that aero, Bergen. It's a bit too late now, Greg, but thank you for tuning in. We've got Adam Silverman, the US national champion, James Phillips, Matt Brandt, Geir Riedervold. We've also got Jacob Peel in here. Funny story, I actually grew up watching Jacob Peel on TV as he raced for Team CSC back in the day. And being a Dane and being a fan of cycling, you could not help but being a massive fan of that team back in the day. So it's fun to see him now integrate into the Swift racing community. It's just fun to see the revolution slowly starting to really hit people now. We've also got Frank Deal, Patrick Blair, and Luke Patterson. As always, guys, you hear me say this every time. It's a Jesper Anchor podcast. But, oh, we've actually got 40 in here tonight. That's interesting. You hear this every time it's a Jesper Anchor broadcast. I usually have a co-commentator. I usually have someone to bounce off that's either ex-professional Wesley Salzberger or ex-professional as well, Pat Shaw. But as we're in the Northern Hemisphere and they're busy doing work for Swift and Shaw Cycles elsewhere, I am left, very gratefully, just with you. So you in the chat right now are responsible for making this broadcast the best product it can possibly be. So if you spot anything, if you know anything of value, you are my expert. I was almost going to say witness, but this isn't court, not yet. You are my expert broadcasting partner in crime. So please do come up with funny regards, funny comments, and if you spot anything, and if you know anything in particular regarding the race, please do let me know. So we do see Mason Butler going off the front, and he's changed kit. I usually remember him in that pinkish kit, and I also think he's unlocked a Tron bike in the time that I've been broadcasting over the last 3 months. So it's good to see Mason Butler evolving his attire on Swift, but no one has joined him. No one has gone in the attack with him. It's Case on a BRT. It's 40 of Vision. That is a signing off the season. Jacob Peel says, go, Søren Bay, one day into another. Adam says, hey, Jesper. Luke says, hey, Jesper. Klaus Miller says, Søren Bay wins easy. I have noticed this trend now that Fusion eSports cycling has gotten into this, is that the nationalism that's happening in the Swift community is really shining through, as we also have Simon Nilsson in here, who streams a lot to the Fusion esports cycling team, and I actually catch a lot of those streams because they're quite fascinating as a streaming guy myself. But what is happening on Facebook, at least, is that there seems to be a cult following of the Danish Zwift team, like, because it's so Danish core, like, through and through. I see so many people that I've not really seen active in the racing community before rally around the fact that it is their team. Like, this is what's missing. If you could see me right now, I'm literally making the biggest hand gestures known to man because I'm trying to visualize this whole idea as Herman and Jones go onto the attack. But what's happening is, there weren't staples in Swift racing. Swift racing is so young that why should you support Vision over Team X? Or why should you support BRT over Vikings? Well, now there's a Danish team involved. It seems like all of Denmark have just rallied around one team. So maybe the solution to good racing broadcasting like this and getting people involved as spectators is to have stable teams like nationalities. And that'd be cool. I'm really, really enjoying where racing on Zwift is heading compared to where it has been and how much it's grown in such short time. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up to the Whitehall climb. This is where we're going to see the difference, if any, if you want to drop the Steve Youngs of the group. Ollie Jones is near the front. We got a Vola of Belgian Swift riders near the front. Metcalf is also near the front. Alex West, Ryan Galliano is up there as well from Team Draft. Now, on the right-hand side, you're going to see orange numbers. I saw Berg Turisma, I think his name is, Dutch guy in here. He's got quite a good sprint on him. He's beaten me once or twice, but here we go. From the helicopter point of view, actually, this is the on-bike camera, but here you go. Some people are popping feathers, some people are popping arrows. A lot of drafting powers are being popped. Stephen Fleetwood is in amongst the action, but that was it. But now, this is the trick now. If you are a clever Swifter, if you are a keen, experienced Swift racer, you know to stay on the power. What is a rookie and common mistake I see when broadcasting and watching and spectating and coaching Swift racers is that once you get over the Whitehall climb, once you get over that climb, you let go of the gas because you think it's over because the trainer difficulty goes back down to 0 and it feels like you don't have to push as hard. Wrong. Like, you're going to have to keep going until about this hairpin coming up, or this 180 at the very end of the stretch. And I'm sure that the Greg Leos and the Adam Silmans, the Jeffrey Keels, the James Phillips, they can all underline this thesis, because once you come over the top, people will stay on it because there's like a domino or like an elastic effect, because one guy was catching up, but he'll overshoot the guy he was catching up on, which makes the next guy accelerate, and the pack doesn't really settle down until this point, which you're seeing right here. We're doing 6 laps in total today. According to Swift Power, that is 39 kilometers in total. So far, in 12 minutes of racing, according to Swift Power, I see people averaging between 4.3 to 4.9 watts per kilo. It's been fast. It's been really, really fast so far. We see just going through the chat because it's always fun to see what you guys have got to say. Jens says, interesting hand gestures. Steve Fung says, innovation and Steve Young for the win. Klaus Miller says, Fusion eSports cycling team is why I see the races. Yeah, this is what I'm spotting, Klaus, is that when you have a team you religiously support, like the Danish esports team, you're more likely to tune into these broadcasts. And I do encourage to get behind a team and get involved with this whole cycling indoor movement. Lee Gostin says, loving the double draft. I actually believe that KISS have they've retracted. They've gone back. They've chosen not to do double draft anymore for KISS races. So I don't actually think that's in effect tonight. Luke Patterson says, I burned my pasta and I'm blaming you. I apologize. I'm so sorry. Adam Silverman says, how many laps? 6 laps in total. Greg Leo says, Jess Branco does own a Swift t-shirt. I will let you know I do own a Swift t-shirt or 40, but who's counting? If you want a Swift t-shirt, you can hit me up on Facebook and I'll glad you sent you one, because I've got 40 Swift t-shirts just in the bottom of my closet. Yeah. Sorry, that's not meant to cough, but Lee Dix of Vision. So I used to be on Vision. About 2 years ago, I joined up with Nathan Guerra, Johnny Notblett, Felix Hemsley, and the rest of the management, Quentin Lafay, and I joined Vision. And ever since, there's just been this massive call of riders that have come and gone. Like the initial foundation are now in One Love. They're in Team Cycling Hub. And then now you got the Johannes Hermans, you got the Le Coince. How do you pronounce that French guy's name? But it's fun to see how Vision have gone through phases of riders, and they still manage to find really good talent. That's one thing Quentin Lafay has done really well with Team Vision. But with more teams involved now, gone are the days where it was David Allenby versus Tim Cartwright versus Kim Little in every single race. Now we've got so many more. Like, this is the thing. Like, I am being serious. If you do want a Swift t-shirt, give me a direct message after this, because I can't really see. The chat is going by so fast, I can't see it. But what happened? I lost my train of thought. In the old days, because there's been so many new names that have been introduced to the community, that if you don't really remember Nathan Guerra streaming on Mixer or on Beam or wherever else Nathan was streaming way back when you had to show up to a race and meet at a certain point, and you would have to have the clock set at like a precise measurement, because you would start the race on the dot at 7 o'clock. Back then, it was the Tim Cartwright versus David Allenby versus Kim Little. Now, we've introduced Steve Young, we've introduced Greg Leo, Adam Silverman, Matt Gardner, Johannes Herman, Simon Nielsen, Jeppe Tolbøl, Jeffrey Keel. The list just goes on. I'm so sorry if I didn't mention a name, by the way, but there's so many more that you can add to it, like Alex West, Ollie Jones, Braga Bergen. It's just, Swift racing is evolving fast, and it's quite fun to see the involvement of everyone. Hey, Nathan Guerra. Thank you for everything you do, Nathan. So if you don't know, guys, this is actually all set up by Nathan. Like, literally all I do is turn on my computer, turn on my microphone, and then I talk into this thing for about 50 minutes to an hour every time I do the broadcast. So if you can, please do give a shout out to Nathan Guerra. If you can, like, please just when you see him, just say thank you for everything you do, Nathan, because without you, you wouldn't be able to see Mason Butler going off the front. You wouldn't be able to see S. Kassan of BRT go off the front. He's the man behind the scenes that run the show. So 13 kilometers down, we're doing 39 in total. So there's about 26 kilometers left if Swift Power is to believe. I see so many messages coming in now on my phone. I should I should have enterprised this. Do you want a used Jasper Swift t-shirt? You really don't. You can... Oh, God, what have I gotten myself into? We got A. Coles as well of Dirt Racing. They host this great thing called the Morning Grand Fondo every Wednesday morning that I also have the pleasure of broadcasting. It's fun to see. Got... It's weird to see names like Krivonos, because I always struggle to pronounce his name, but there was a time where Team Poland dominated a lot of these races, and I had Daniel Vatonia and Jacek Tarek, I believe his name is, private message me how to pronounce their names, and I did my best to research. I did my best to fully absorb what they were trying to sell to me, but knowing me, I just totally reverted back to old Jasper. How about used? Shut up, Claudia. How about used Claude? Here we go. We're coming up to the Whitehall climb. You guys are too funny. I see Brandon Melting Tallow is in here as well. He qualified for the Equit Finals in Long Beach, California last year, or was it earlier this year? But yeah, he definitely qualified. He raced quite strongly and represented KISS racing team very proudly. Oh, going back. We got, speaking of Team Poland, we have a Grabasic off the front with an aero power-up. There's a lot of power-ups being popped relatively early on into the race. And I'm not like, this is where I'd love to have like an open channel of communication with the riders. Because if you could, during the race, talk to the rider, like when it comes back down, just ping Grabacek and go, you popped an aero power up on the Whitehall climb. There's still 25 kilometers, 24 kilometers left of racing. Is that because you think you're going to get another aero power up, or are you just confident that this move is going to stick? That is the interesting part. I see John Grasso's in here as well. It's fun in games, Adam. I really do. Like earlier today, I received a parcel from Matt Gardner and the guys at Draft and Dirt. I'm looking at it right now, and it's a Morning Grind Fundo t-shirt. I cannot start to express how thankful I am for this Swift community, because without you guys, I would not be in the position I am right now, where I run my own company. I have the lifestyle I've always wanted, and this comes down to you guys, like through and through. As the cars are passing by my office, you are amazing. So thank you very much. We got Grabashik off the front, 6 seconds. We got Team Poland trying to slow down things, but he really he would wish right now that somebody went with him. But this not being double draft, it's even more difficult to get off the front. Looking through the peloton, usually Fusion are quite strong. They used to have Lars Husballe, who used to be their dominant rider who could just put out power instantly whenever needed. He could rival Leandro Messinio up climbs, but it looks like he's no longer on Fusion, so he's not in this team. But some of the other riders, like Klaus Nielsen, doesn't look like he's made the start list either. So we're down to Søren Bay and Simon Nielsen. But I've seen Simon Nielsen stream on Fusion's Facebook page, and he is not a man. Like I would say he's an outsider for the win tonight, because I've seen him sprint, and that man can put down power when needed. But when the peloton is this big and the racing is that unpredictable, are we going to see a sprint? Are we going to see someone go? I mean, I saw. I see what Melting Tallow said. We saw earlier in the race Alex West type in the chat in the game saying, "I don't think the hill is long enough. I don't think it's hard enough to break up the race. I think we'll see a sprint." Oh, thank you, Fabrice. Fabrice says, you are amazing too, Jasper. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. How long is this race? This race is 39 kilometers in total. Thank you, Johan. So Melting Tallow telegraphed his attack. He said, you know what? I'm going. And then he popped an aero power up and he's gone with it. We see Stephen Fleetwood of Vision attempting to go with him. I do applaud that effort. But now Melting Tallow and Grabashek off the front together into the sunset. Can they do it together? KRT and Team Poland in a coup to try and beat the sprinters, the Simon Nielsens and the Steve Youngs. But it looks like Grabashek has gone backwards, back into the peloton. And now the fast Canadian Melting Tallow, who's, by the way, been around for so long. Like, hands up if you remember Nathan Guerra screaming, Melting Tallow, every single time he'd go into the attack. I think you'd run out of fingers if you're trying to count it on your hands. But now he's slowly starting to realize the effect that this attack has had on him. And I do wish that he can recover in time, as that heart rate is now up to 169. I think it'll creep up to 170. Chasing peloton is so close now. 5 seconds back. Alex West on the front. He is just spitting out the rhymes now. He's realizing, but nonetheless, round of applause for Melting Tallow for having the cojones to attack off the front like this and sticking with it. But it looks like it's going to be in vain. FD Avola, Belgian Zwift Racers. It's a name I see a lot. It's a name I see a lot in racing, but I've yet to really see him shine through and win a race. He is rocking a Tron bike. He's rocking the Specialized helmet. Maybe tonight is going to be his night. Looking over on Swift Power, Great tool if you're into racing. You should always make sure to be opt in to see your results. Always wear a heart rate monitor so you go into the results as well. But looking at it, the power has come down. The average power and the normalized power has come down since the first 12 minutes. We're now 22 and a half minutes into the racing. And before, we averaged between 4.3 to 4.9 watts per kilo. It's now come down to about 3.9 to 4.5 watts per kilo. So it doesn't really mean the pace has slowed down. It just means the group has gotten up to speed and you're now able to draft further into the racing. So this is interesting though, because when a blob is this big, I saw a funny comment in the Cycling Hub Unlock Kit ride earlier today. Someone called it, what was it, Blob Dylan? Is that what they called the Peloton? Great, that guy should trademark it. He should patent it, put it on a t-shirt. $1 million idea. But when the blob is this big, drafting is more powerful. So the pace on Swift stays up near the 47s and the 60 kilometers an hour when you're going fast. But you can actually bring the wattage quite far down. And a person who's mastered this, who's one of the early juggernauts of Swift racing, Adam Webb, he's always either at the very back of the affairs or the very, very front, because he pushes the drafting capability of Swift to the limit. He will sit as far back as possible. He'll do the least amount as possible. And it is interesting to see the different styles of Swift racing. Because are you the sort of guy or girl who like to sit at the front at a steady state effort of like 4 watts per kilo? Or are you I was going to say a clever Swifter? Are you more a risky Swifter who sit near the back and then alternate between 2.8 watts per kilo and 4.5? 2.8, 4.5. That is really the two main archetypes I'm seeing of like drafting styles. You either sit constantly near the front, and if you have your graph on, if you press G, you'll just see a flat line in the same zone, or are you further near the back with a very peaky and spiky graph that you accelerate and react to moves and try to rest up? Usually what you see is with the first archetype of sitting at a constant pace, you have like an RPM of 85 to 95 constantly. And if you got more of a peaky graph or spiky graph, it's an RPM of like 75 to 85. At least that's the observation I've been seeing from all the Swift racing that I've inevitably over my career of Swift commentary just seen. I've had a lot of hours just standing in front of a microphone watching virtual avatars chase pixels, as my good friend and colleague Nathan Guerra puts it. But it doesn't make it any less fun because we got 110 people watching this right now. So if you're in the race and you're suffering, just know this. There's 110 people from around the world watching your race right now. That is more people than if you go to a local crit on a Sunday morning. There's more people right now on Swift Community Live watching you put in this effort on the Whitehall climb on Trafalgar Square in London. Metcalf is off the front. Pantelier, who is a Siva Set approved. Ollie Jones with a verified ticket up there as well. Trevonas, Simon Nilsson, G. Schultes, who's quite strong according to Gus Bauman. Fleetwood is in here. Bergen is near the back. Johannes Herman. I did see the Dutch guy. I forgot his name again. But there he is. Bertus Tuxma is his name. He's an outsider for this race. I've seen him sprint before, and he is quite strong. So, over to you, chat, my excellent partner in crime. I want to hear a prediction. We're just over halfway in the race. We've got another 19 kilometers left. I want to hear you say who you think is going to win and why. And once you've done that, I'll make my own prediction as well. So in the chat right now, I'm looking at Tim Fulford, Greg Leo, Adam Toledo, Lee Pouty, Claudia Bering, and the rest of you. I want to see a prediction. Give me a name and why you think that person is going to win. Once you've done that, I'll try to make my own, dissection of the peloton and why I think said person is going to win. Muxon is up here. Here we got Tuxma. We'll give him a ride on. Muxon of BRT. It's really good to see Bolt Racing Team come out with numbers today. We got Mr. Marker, who I've seen racing the Swift racers, German Swift Riders? Swift Riders Germany. That is the group. Greg Leo says, Steve Young has to be the one to beat here. I agree. Claudia Bering, it's never too early to make predictions. As a gambling man, you make predictions before the race even starts. That's where the odds are the best. The further you leave it, the further you wait, the less credit you're going to get. So the earlier you make your bold prediction, the earlier you're going to be able to reap, or the more you're going to be able to reap the rewards. We're going to see David Crisp saying Bay, because he's a beast. Tim Fulford says a Swifter. You're not funny, Tim, even though you tried. Matt Brand says Ollie Jones will win from 1.5 kilometers out. If that's now his strategy, you've just been called out, Ollie. Klaus Müller says Fusion ECT Cern Bay wins it. Nihu says another vote for the Python Stevie boy. James Phillips says my man Steve Young has this and you know it, Jesper. I like the confidence. Lee Gustin says Ollie Jones. Mason Butler, then I may as well bet on myself. Good. Jake Simmons says Steve Young with the Pythons. And Claudia Bering says I could never announce on CCL, never as good as Jesper and Nathan. Oh, never count yourself out, Claudia. You got enough sass to be up here and talk for 50 minutes of Swift racing. So there's a lot of love for Ollie Jones, for Steve Young, for Cern Bay, and Mason Butler for himself. I applaud you, Mason. It takes that takes courage to put yourself out there like that when no one else will. Looking through the start list, I think you're all missing a crucial name. It will be a Danish winner today. It will not be Cern Bay. I am calling it right now, Simon Nielsen. This name right here, get used to it. I think this member of the Fusion ECT team powered by SAS and Wahoo will take the win tonight. I know, with the power, with the capability of riders in here, Alex West, Ollie Jones, Cern Bay, Steve Young, and the rest. I think this guy's going to take it. I'm betting for it. Toledo Torpedo says Mr. Young. Frank Deal says Steve Young unless Jones attacks in the Whitehall and stays away. You predict Britt Mason will win the ladies' race. Yes, that is a good point, Claudia. So there is a ladies' race happening right now as well. I do not have the streaming capabilities of a Nathan Guerra or Johnny Noblet. I am constrained to one race and one race only. And unfortunately, that is just the A category in the men's because most often or not, that is the one with the most firepower. So if you have your mobile phone open right now, go on the companion app and give all the ladies racing the KISS race right now a ride on. It takes you, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, and you could make their day. They could be suffering right now. Well, they're definitely suffering. Their heart rates are through the roof. They're sweating, they're suffering, they're not even getting broadcasted. But if you right now got out your phone and just gave a ride on to somebody racing the ladies' race right now in KISS, you could potentially make their day. It is, after all, the holiday season. It's a time of giving, so I urge you all to give a ride on. Klaus Müller says Simon Nielsen is very strong, true, nasty sprint he has. I see. Jacob Peel in Danish says, my neighbor in 2000, what, in 29? I'm not even sure what that means. It could be a postcode, but my postcode in Denmark knowledge is limited to the 64 numbers because that is my regional area, which I do go home to tomorrow, which I'm very excited for. Bergen early on, he popped an aero power-up, and he tried to attack away, and it did burn maybe a quarter of a match. But it was only a quarter of a match for everyone else, whereas to Bergen, it was probably closer to an entire match. How is he going to recover? How is he going to assess the situation? And this is where having strength in numbers would come into play, but I'm seeing the Vikings don't really have that many members supporting Bergen in this race, so he's going to have to make a cross alliance with some of the other teams. He did have a breakaway with Ollie Jones and a few others early on, but since it's not double draft, it was not able to stay away. So it looks like we got Britt Mason and Lucy Collins racing the ladies' KISS race. So if you open up your phone, go and find Lucy Collins and Britt Mason and give them a ride on. It's the least we can do, everybody. Looking back at the race, so if you're just tuning in, we're doing 6 laps of the Classique course in London. That is 39 kilometers in total, which means we've got 15 kilometers left of racing out here. It's been fast, it's been furious. Watts per kilo have been averaging around 4.2 to 4.5 now, so the pace has definitely picked up again, but it's been a while since there's been an attack off the front. As I go back up to the front, just making sure that is in fact the case. Yes, it is. It's been a while since someone has actually attacked and tried to split things up. Who's going to take this? Oh, I see what you mean now, Jacob. I see what you mean. So according to Alan Silverman, he wanted the drone view from above. See if I can do this. Oh, look at me. I'm Johnny Noblet. Oh, producing this broadcast. I'm not really keen on this view. I really much prefer this one. I prefer to be up close and personal and see what the racer sees. So you can choose which camera angle you want. The majority just stick it on one. I race on this camera angle, which is the first person view, you can toggle that by pressing 3 on your keyboard. I prefer this because it lets you know how far you can take the drafting, but the majority of Swifters race on this camera view. I see Leandro Messinio is in here. Lionel Messi winning his 5th Golden Boot. Not this one, but yeah. Good to see you, Leo. It's a shame you're not racing this, man, but I saw you were doing a workout earlier today. Ollie Jones with a power on the front. He's got the purple Tron bike. He's got the specialized helmet, interdimension data kit, 10 watts per kilo. Now we're getting into the pointy end of the racing. 14 kilometers left, and Ollie Jones is going for it now. There's actually separation here. If they realize this, if they look around and realize that the peloton is actually split in half right by Valdemar, they could go for it. We're seeing drafting powers being popped at the back now. There's panic amongst the action. Ollie Jones just split the peloton in half. But there's a lack of like race radio communications. I don't know how many of you follow the YouTube vlogger on the vlogger on YouTube called Cameron Jeffers. Cameron Jeffers uploaded a video yesterday of the very own Tim Fulford de-essing him through the race. That is so powerful. Like, Team Draft have Scott Cunningham, they have Greg Leo, they have Adam Silverman, great tacticians and strategizers who can make decisions based on what they see before the race, during the race, and after the race. And if you want to take Swift racing to the next level, you need someone to de-ess you. You need someone to be in your ear and give you information like this. So when Ollie Jones broke the peloton, if somebody was in his ear, like I am right now technically because I know he's listening, but it's delayed by about 15 to 20 seconds to what I say to when he hears it. Instead, if you had a dedicated coach, and I know this sounds super nerdy and super geeky because it's Swift racing, but Swift have recently just got $120 million investment boost dollars. That, according to all the articles, are primarily based on the promise of eSports. Just think about that. They've invested over $120 million bucks on the promise of Swift eSports. It's time you take this seriously. Like, there could be a serious future in becoming a Swift racing athlete. And you're saying, I've been saying this for a year now, and some people are like, nah, you can never, Jesper. But I firmly believe it. And the recent reports really just support that claim, I believe, to see that the higher-ups, those are quite wealthy, support and can see the ideology and the vision in this. So if you are taking racing seriously, try just once having a team member or a friend or a coach of yours watch the race, be in your ear, and say, okay, this is what's happening, and this is how you should be doing it. So I do urge you to go find the Cameron Jeffers video on YouTube. It was from yesterday, and you can see what it's like to have someone like Cycling Hub's very own Tim Fulford in your ear, just talking to you, encouraging you. And I understand it's not for everybody. Like, even in real life, there are people that race without their radios because they don't want anyone else in their head. But that's okay. It's a bit old school if you ask me, but it's okay. But esports is coming, and it's time everyone starts to get ready and take this seriously, because with the e-racing that's been announced for next year in Swift racing, there was the KISS Super League that's been announced. More information apparently is coming on that. I'm quite in the dark on that. There's the British Cycling Partnership and the Cycling Australia Partnership, where you can win a national jersey that have been announced. I mean, it's getting pretty serious, and you're getting in early. So when the pros eventually come in, we all know that Swift racing is more than just numbers. It's about how you utilize those numbers. Because if you compare two levels of Swifters, one that just sits at 4 watts per kilo for an hour versus the one that peaks up and down during that hour and still averages 4 watts per kilo, one will win and the other will definitely not. So esports coming, brace yourself. What is everyone else doing for Christmas, by the way, or whatever other holiday you're celebrating this time of year? You going anywhere special? Like we are, for me, being a Dane, being from Europe, Christmas for me is 4 days away. I know for the majority other people watching, it's 5 days away. But what are you doing for Christmas? Are you going to see family? Have you gotten all your Christmas presents? I mean, we've still got about 10 kilometers of racing left. It's 10 kilometers of getting great ideas for Christmas presents that you have not yet to buy from everyone else of like-minded memories. Yeah, but Talbot says, we use Discord for most of our races and we communicate a lot. Makes sense. It is really, like, I'm sure Yebe can attest to this, but it does really make a difference to have somebody to hold you accountable, somebody to help you, because at the end of the day, you could just step off the bike, but you don't really when you have somebody else depending on you. Claudia Bering says, so how many wins to make someone an esports pro? I don't think to stay on this topic, I don't think it comes down to how many wins you have. I think it's how you utilize your branding, your marketing, your image, your commitment to the cause. Like when you think about it, Fusion ECT, for me at least, I might be slightly biased because I'm Dane. They are leading the race when it comes to esports and taking it seriously, getting sponsors, getting brand deals, getting writers involved, creating a community, and they seem to just be skyrocketing to the top. It comes down to how you leverage the fact that you are an esports athlete, not how many wins you have. Because you can be the best rider on Swift and not be a pro because you don't understand how to leverage the fact that you are this great machine. Like Leandro Marcinho is a great example because he is, without a doubt, the strongest racer on Swift. When you see him, your heart stops for a beat. He live streams all his races, he live streams all his workouts, he's active in the community. That to me is pretty close to being an individual esports athlete already now in terms of Swift racing. Once the actual teams come in and he gets picked up or whatever, then it's easier because he already understands what's valuable and what makes you an esports athlete. It's not, to cut it short, it's not down to how many wins you have or your palmarès, it's how you leverage your ability. What team has the most racers? That is a good question. But back to the racing. I know, guys. I go off on tantrums. Give Jesper a microphone, and he will end up somewhere in Madagascar. But we got 9 kilometers left of racing. I believe that's roughly 2 laps left. We'll see what's going to happen now as we come up. But the group has continuously strung out, as we can see over the shoulder, back on the drone view where we can adjust, which was added earlier this year, but it still freaks me out that we can do this. But the group has thinned down ever so slightly. We do still have all the strong riders, and as we come up to the Whitehall climb, last time we came here, Ollie Jones really dug deep to try and break the group. He's at 11 to 12 watts per kilo for the 10 seconds to 15 seconds of that effort. It snapped the group in half, but because no one kept on the pace, they were allowed to get back in. Leandro Marcinho says, I am a sea professional. He's an outdoor professional. No, I know. Leandro Marcinho has raced Nara Quintana, etc. in the Tour de San Luis. He's done really well in the Argentinian national championships of time trial outside, but he's now coming inside and applying the same sort of commitment, and it's good to see. Ryan Galliano of Team Draft. Sorry for butchering your name, my friend. We got Moson, we got Pantelier, and Killian once again. It doesn't look like Ollie Jones is taking it up this time around. Maybe he's saving that firepower for the next time of action. But Killian, Pantelier, Moxon, every little microburst like this, it does slightly hurt your legs ever so more. Every time you come to this hill, you get tireder and tireder and tired. And you can see it. I mean, the groups get smaller and smaller and smaller. And everyone popping the draft power up to try and get an arrow next time around. Somebody just popped an arrow on the front. Who is this? That is an interesting moment to pop an arrow power up. It looks like it could be the Norwegian Bertelsen Tanwick. And also Melting Tallow goes again now with a counter move. Is anyone going to go with him? He's popping his arrow power up. He attacked. This, if there's a... Well, not if. I am right now making up a competitivity award, and as the sole judge, jury, and executioner, I am giving it to Brandon Melting Tallow for trying to spice up things here tonight on the KISS broadcast for the KISS racing team. Brandon Melting Tallow, ladies and gentlemen, this guy just doesn't give up. 2 seconds to the back, used his arrow power up. It looks like he will get caught once again. Jake Simmons says, I'm excited for the sprint. I'm doing recon for the KISS Americas later. Jake, this sprint you're about to see is going to be very different to the Americas race you're going to do later on tonight. I think it was Jonathan Giron who did a comparison with his heart rate in an American race and a European race. And unfortunately, just with the way that the demographics work out in Swift racing, the majority of the stronger riders race in the European time zone. So the sprint you're going to see in this race is going to be substantially tougher or longer than the one you're going to do tonight in the Americas race. The one that's going to happen here, already from this point in the sprint, they will have started to ramp it up because somebody will have attacked. What I think is going to happen in the Americas race tonight is that it's going to be a condensed field and you can leave the sprint much later. So if you're watching this to try and get recon, to try and get a feel of what's going to happen tonight, it's going to be 2 very different races. So just have that in mind. I think you can have more matches. You can leave it later for the Americas. But looking at the timer, we're coming down to the last lap of racing. We have 130 people tuning in right now. If every single one of you could click a like, a love, a haha, an emoji, whatever on the stream, the Facebook algorithm carries the broadcast and shares it to more people because it sees that people are enjoying the broadcast. So it takes you 2 seconds to either take your finger and just click a button or move your mouse, and then you get to share the stream organically without you having to do anything else to more people on the Facebook platform. So if you're a fan of anyone racing, if you are a friend, a family member, a wife, a husband, one click can get their suffering to more people. It can grow this movement. So I do urge you. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time to ring the bell because we've got one lap left in the KISS European race. I also think, well, not I think, I know this will be my last stream of 2018 because I'll be in Denmark and I'll be on this thing they call a holiday, which I'm not too keen on, not too used to that, but I'll be back home in Denmark. This will be my last stream on Swift Community Live as of 2018, as we're on the last lap. I just want to say a massive, massive thank you. I touched upon this earlier. Every single one of you, thank you for making 2018 amazing, and just so much growth has happened. So many new friends have been made, so many new connections, and honestly, I wish you guys the best Christmas, the best New Year, etc. Thank you for making my life a bit better every day, because you always know at the end, you send me a message after the race going, I could have done that better. You always send to debrief with me, which I do. I really do appreciate it. It does make for a good feeling. So thank you very much, and I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Last 5 kilometers of racing in the KISS European race. Let's get ready. Let's get ready for some watts. Bring your bike, Jesper. There's no way. I'm running over Christmas. I don't ride in Denmark. I need a break from cycling when I go home because it's literally my 8 to 12. But let's get ready. Big numbers are going to be put out. There was a that looks to be Pantillier has gone off the front. He's popped his aero power up, and with 1 lap to go, Mr. Pantillier has gone off the front. No one has gone with him. He's on his own, and now he's committed. He's popped his aero power up. He will not get another power up as of this lap, as of this race. Is he going to stick away now? The heart rate is already at 185. As I see, Cameron Jeffers has tuned into the broadcast as well. Massive shout out to him. But Pantillier at 6 watts per kilo, 188 heart rate off the front now. He's got 10 seconds, but it's him versus the blob. And with 4 kilometers to go, it's going to be difficult. Vision on the front with 2 riders trying to bring him back. He's still sitting at 11 watts per kilo. He is Siva set verified, which means he's able to sustain more than 5 watts per kilo for 20 minutes of racing. He's got less than that left, but he's going to have to dig really hard. This is where he would have wished that someone like Ollie Jones or Alex West would have gone with him to try and form a little breakaway off the front. But Pantillier is going for it. We're now on the false flat. This is where it feels flat. It's not really flat. It goes up ever so slightly. 13 seconds, 14 seconds. Can he do it? Come on, Pantillier. I believe it's Sean Pantillier who is off the front right now. Master, his 15-second power is 11.8, and for 20 minutes in this race, he's averaged 5.2 watts per kilo. Can Sean Pantillier do it? The gap is 12 seconds. You can see over the shoulder that the raging peloton is coming down quickly on our American. Unaffiliated, no team, no help. It's man versus peloton. We got Brendan Melting-Tallow again riding for Watts for Rachel and KRT on the front. Come on, we believe in Sean Pantillier. No one predicted this man to win the KISS European race tonight, but he's attempting it. It looks like Nathan Killiam is reacting to this now, washed up racing. He's trying to bridge across. This, ladies and gentlemen, means business. This could actually stick, as Nathan Guerra says it. Nobody's going with him. Nobody is going with Nathan Killiam right now. 7 seconds off the front. We've got 1 bump left. There you go. Sean Pantillier is near the front. 12 seconds back to the group. We've got the kicker. He's got to kick hard now because he does not have the benefit of the draft. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to come down to the wire for the last broadcast of 2018 for me. Could not be a better ending to this. Come on, Nathan. He's been the bridesmaid so often. Can this be his night? Come on, Nathan. I believe in you. I believe you got what it takes to get back up to the front of washed up racing. Pantillier and Killiam. We got Bergenstay of America going with him, but Killiam is coming around now. It's a 5-second gap. We've got 144 people tuning in right now to you, Nathan. You can do it. 8 watts per kilo off the front. He pops the aero power up. This is all or nothing for a Canadian of washed up racing back in the peloton. Sean Patilia is going to be caught, but at 183 beats. Nathan Killiam has averaged 5.4 watts per kilo for 20 minutes. Come on, 8 seconds back. Ollie Jones pops the aero power up. He's going for it. We've got 1.5 kilometers left. Ollie Jones is trying to bridge across. Steve Young, the out-and-out favorite, is trying to react to this without any teammates. His best friend and co-rider, James Phillips, out with an injury. I've never in my Swift career seen a race end quite like this. And ladies and gentlemen, I freaking love it. Nathan Killiam and Ollie Jones are trying to upset the sprinters with a long-range attack. But they've got to stay on it because the man with the 2 pythons is bridging across at 190 BPM. If he can stay on the trainer, Steve Young will bridge across and will be the out-and-out favorite to win it again. He's done it by himself. One hell of an effort from Wonder Boy. Can Stevie do it? But Ollie Jones has not given up yet. He's still at 7 watts per kilo. 8, 7. Oh, he's going back up now, and they have a 10-second gap. I think it's safe to say the winner is going to come from this front group. Now, Steve Young is trying to recover, but Nathan and Ollie should not let him. They should counterattack over the top. Steve had just put in a massive effort to bring it back. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the final 750 meters of racing. Nathan is doing his best to get rid of Stevie Young, but he knows it's going to be too little too late. Mr. Pythons is in amongst this action. Unless he's completely blown his load, he's probably gonna take this in the sprint now. 300 meters to go. It's time to unleash the Pythons. If you've got anything left, Steve, here you go. He's got an arrow still. This should be his, but Ollie Jones is not giving up. But here comes the man, the myth, the legend himself. Put your hands together for the one and only. That is one hell of an effort. Steve Young, Ollie Jones, Nathan Killiam. Wow. That is hands down the most impressive win I've seen on Swift in a very, very, very long time. Wow. The fact that he bridged across on his own without using the aero power up to Nathan Killiam, to Ollie Jones, who are a 2-man heads-up group. On that note, have a great rest of 2018. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'll see you in 2019.